Hi, everyone. We're going to get started as our candidates get used to the mics. My name is Jacob Sanchez. I'm the Senior Education Reporter for the Fort Worth Report. Welcome to tonight's forum. Tonight, we're going to have Fort Worth ISD candidates, Tarrant County College Board candidates, and Tarrant Regional Water District candidates speaking. But before we get to the main event, we got to do some thank yous first. So thank you for joining us for the forum and ahead of the May 3rd election. And thank you to Steer Fort Worth, KERA, and the League of Women Voters for partnering with us for this event and last night's forum. Thank you to Texas Wesleyan for providing this great space. Arcpoint Studios and Steer Fort Worth are helping us live stream this forum on the Fort Worth Report's YouTube channel. And League of Women Voter volunteers are helping us check in and keep time for the forums tonight. They are right there if you need to know where to look. So candidates have 2 minutes for opening remarks, 90 seconds for the responses to our questions, and 2 minutes for their closing statements. Our volunteers will hold up reminders that you are 30 seconds to time and a stop sign when times are up. In our first hour, we're going to hear from Fort Worth ISD School Board candidates. In our second, we'll spend 30 minutes each with Tarrant County District Board candidates and Tarrant Regional Water District Board candidates. Let's get straight to it. We have all of our Fort Worth ISD candidates here. We have our contested races in Districts 1, 7, and 9. And then we have 2 uncontested candidates. That's Trustee Anuel Lubianos and Wallace Bridges. Wallace Bridges could not be here tonight. We'll start from my left. So yesterday, the Texas House agreed to expand private school choice through the use of education savings accounts. How will you attract and retain families? And is that a priority for you as a trustee? Oh, sorry, I got excited for our questions. We're going to do introductions, so please start.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Ine. I've been a reading teacher for 18 years. I was Fort Worth ISD's District Teacher of the Year in 2023. My husband and I are proud parents and residents of the North Side of students who attend Fort Worth ISD. Outside of teaching and parenting and supporting our community and our schools, I am the chair of Mended Little Hearts in Fort Worth, which is a support group. And I'm also vice president of the CICU Family Advisory Council for Cook Children, as our youngest, Josiah, had open heart surgery when he was 9 days old. I'm a huge literacy advocate in many areas of our city. And my top 3 priorities, I don't know if this is a question, but I'm going to go into that, are literacy and student achievement, as well as transparency and trust, building that between the board and the community, and being fiscally responsible with our dollars, and making sure that they align to the students directly for student achievement.
There we go. I'm going to take 30 seconds of my time trying to turn the mic on. You haven't started. Good evening, everyone. I was born on a plat of land, the riverside of Trinity River in Fort Worth, to a young, gifted, and Black charismatic couple who welcomed a bundle of joy with a note. Will you be my Valentine? Fast forward to an energetic child running through the various halls of the Fort Worth ISD, schools from kindergarten all the way through R.L. Pasco High School, home of the Panthers. Then next, a patch of land in a college town near Cal Field. I matriculated at Texas A&M University, graduating with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in speech communication. Then came an internship at KERA, Channel 13, my first job at KTXA, Channel 21, and then a career in the wild blue yonder as a flight attendant with American Airlines, all the while pursuing my love of education with a Master's of Science degree in journalism from Texas Christian University. So today, as you meet me, maybe for the first time, know that I believe in public education, okay? I believe in fixing what we have, and in the case of the Fort Worth Independent School District, my top 3, literacy, mathematics, transportation, and I believe in the future of all children, mandating great education for all. And for this city, we deserve it. They are our future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anael Luevanos. It has been my privilege, my honor to be the school board representative for District 8 for the last 8 years. I was elected in 2017. I was born in the United States, but I grew up in a small farm in rural Zacatecas, Mexico. When I was 15 years old, my parents told me, you should go back to the United States and learn the language. So on a one-way ticket bus, I came back to the United States. I was living with my aunt while I attended INA, International Newcomers Academy. From then, after a year, I learned some English, and I went to Pasco, where I received an excellent education from the teachers at Pasco High School. Then they encouraged me to attend college. So I was very lucky to get a scholarship, and I was accepted here at Texas Wesleyan University. I graduated with an accounting degree and my MBA. I did a dual degree program 5 years. From then, I went to work for a nonprofit, a lighthouse for the blind, where we employ blind people. I did that for about 10 years. Got married. I have 2 beautiful children, and I knew that I needed to do more to serve my community. So I put my name on the hat in 2017 to run for that office, and I am very blessed to be able to do that and to be the voice for the immigrant community. Thank you.
My name is Roxanne Martinez. I am the current school board trustee for District 9, which runs up and down 35 all the way to the north in Diamond Hill, through Carter Riverside, through downtown YWLA, and into Fairmont and Ryan Place. I am first a mom to 2 teenagers in the district. I'm also a product of the district. I grew up in Diamond Hill, attended Worth ISD schools. I'm a product of MH Moore Elementary, MH Middle School, and Diamond Hill Jarvis High School. I am the first person in my family to graduate high school, went on to college, became the first person to graduate college, then moved back to Fort Worth, and decided, when my husband and I had kids, we decided to move back to Diamond Hill and raise our kids in the same schools that I attended, as well as my parents attended. And I had been working with youth. As soon as I got back from college, I was already volunteering back with Fort Worth ISD straight out of college. But my husband and I have been involved in youth serving organizations for over 2 decades. And it was in 2018 that students at Diamond Hill Jarvis came to me, as I was the Booster Club president at the time. Even though my little ones were in elementary, we were helping out the high school, and they came to me and asked me to run for school board. They were seeking representation that they would like to see on school board. So in 2018, I started to consider it, and finally put my name on the ballot in 2021. So I ran in 2021, helped navigate the district out of the pandemic through some transition and challenging times, and feel that the district has the right superintendent in the seat and that we're moving in the right direction, and I would like to continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Terry Roach, and although I'm sitting at the incumbent table, I have never sat on the school board, but I have worked inside every traditional secondary campus, including every high school and every middle school. I taught full-time at Pascal in Arlington Heights and South Hills, and as a substitute, I visited every school. So I know Fort Worth ISD well. Again, I stretch back to 1996 as a substitute and 1999 as a full-time teacher. I'm proud of Fort Worth ISD and the students I had the privilege to work with, but I also know the problems that we face with low performing schools and declining enrollment. And I've been calling attention to those problems for many years. You can see me at a board meeting in December of 2019, and many of the things that I say were echoed by Mayor Parker recently. So the problems aren't new with Fort Worth ISD, but we have everything we need to solve those problems. I look to empower teachers to focus on what's happening in the classroom and some straight talk about what's happening in Fort Worth ISD as a whole. I'm very disappointed to have to say that there's some real issues with violation, rule breaking, and law breaking with Fort Worth ISD. My experience as an advocate for education reform, I've seen problems in rule and law breaking in how grievances are handled, how contracts are issued to teachers, teacher planning time stipulations, teachers not being given that planning time, problems in how public comments are done at board meetings, and attendance fraud. And attendance fraud especially impacts teachers and students. So I want to focus on empowering teachers, focusing on what's happening in the classroom rather than slick presentations of mostly data-focused at board meetings, and a real straight talk. And I think we can improve the district. We can make it the best district. We have everything we need to solve the problems, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. I am Dr. Camille Rodriguez. I was educated in New York City at the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. After graduating from Prairie View A&M University on a full scholarship due to the stellar education I received at the Fort Worth ISD. And that's why I'm running. I want every child to receive the same quality education that I received. And I'm not doing this because I have children in the Fort Worth ISD. I am doing this because you have children in the Fort Worth ISD. Let's focus on tomorrow's generation of leaders. We have work to do. We have been stagnant for over 10 years. Our current board and superintendent are doing the work. Join us in continuing to move our district forward.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Michael Ryan, and I am in District 7. I'm the incumbent that's there. We go from Benbrook up through Western Hills, also have World Language Institute in there. It's a great place to be. We're the growing part of Fort Worth. Looking at another over 5,000 homes in the next 10 years there. So it's going to require probably another high school built in that area, even though we're looking at closing schools. I grew up for the first part of my life not too far from here, just south of Rosedale on Ramsey Street. We moved when the railroad started closing down, and lived right by TCU, went to Bluebonnet, McLean, and Pascal. Went to TCU, got 2 degrees there, and then got one from East Texas State University, and then they changed their name to Texas A&M at Commerce, and I got my doctorate there. I'm certified in elementary, in all-level music, mid-management, and also as superintendent. I've enjoyed this. I've been doing it for 48 years. I was a band director for 13 years, 14 years. I was a high school principal for another 13 after that. Then I was in central office for 10. My last job up here in this area was I was the head of fine arts for Irving, and right before that I was the head of fine arts for 6 years for Fort Worth ISD. I enjoy the district. I know what we need to do here, what needs to happen. I have been doing this, like I said, for 48 years now. My last 8 years I've been a substitute mainly in Aledo, teaching everything from kindergarten through seniors, and I will tell you that I will never, ever teach kindergarten again because I can't keep up with them. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll go back to the question I initially asked by accident, and we'll start with Robin. Yesterday, the Texas House agreed to expand private school choice through the use of education savings accounts. How will you attract and retain families to the district, and is that a priority for you as a trustee?
You attract and keep students in the district by having a good education. And that's what we're trying to do now. That's the purpose, I think, really of all of us. But I decided to put my name in the hat because I really believe in it. Do I believe in the savings account? Is that what you're kind of asking me? I'm not a fan of that. I really believe in public education. I believe a right for all children to have education. And the monies that is collected by the public be for public education.
and then we'll just go down the line from there.
Thank you for the question. I believe, we need to continue to provide an excellent education. So when people move into Fort Worth, or when people need move to different neighborhoods, they think of our schools as their first choice. That money, the Fort Worth Report had an article a couple weeks ago about how expensive private schools are, anywhere between $5,000 to $31,000, $10,000 on what the state passed last night. It is not enough money to pay for education of $30,000. You still have to come up with another $20,000, $10,000 to make up that difference. So I believe in public education. I believe if we continue to provide an excellent education to all of our kids in Fort Worth ISD, we can continue to attract students.
Recruitment and retention of our students and our families is a high priority. I think we do that a number of ways. One of my priorities is to increase transparency and communication with parents. As a parent myself, I've witnessed a wide range of the communication styles over the years, and have to say that it is improving. But when we increase transparency and accountability and effectively communicate with parents, we will begin to see some of our parents that want to stay, and also will share all the great things that are happening in Fort Worth ISD. We have some wonderful campuses. We have some wonderful programs, wonderful Gold Seal programs that can compete with the private and the charter programs. We have to better advertise those. We have to share about those. But for a parent like me, I take great pride in my neighborhood school. That's where I send my kids. We have to significantly improve, like everyone said so far, the quality of the education they receive. I want to be able to send my kid to a neighborhood school and know that they're going to get a quality education. And we have to do that. We have to do that by improving student achievement. And I think we have the strategic plan and to focus on that and to be able to achieve that.
While I will not appoint myself group spokesperson, I think it's safe to say that there's no issue that we're more united in our opposition to school vouchers, which is a misnomer because it's a money grab. And again, I think everyone who believes in public education, I respect different opinions, but honestly, it's hard for me to understand how anyone can support this plan. Public money needs to go to public education. As far as competition from charter schools, I would never say no to choices. That's another misnomer. It's not school choice. Parents have their choice to homeschool or send to charter schools or private schools. But we need the funding to stay in public education. And competition, that's not something that enters into my mind. I'm focused on making schools the best they can be so that parents and students want to go to their neighborhood school. It's not an athletic competition where we're having the best field, so to speak, to put forth, or the fanciest uniforms. We want integrity, the best opportunities. And having worked at all the campuses, I see that equity is lacking. DEI, who could be against it? Maybe we need to look at hiring practices. We can argue about that, but we can't argue that campuses still show the Jim Crow effects of Jim Crow and segregation. We need to have a committee that is dedicated to getting every campus equitable.
Thank you. I am also against the vouchers. Although the basic allotment increased to about $6,500 per student, it is still way less than the $10,000 that will be given to students to go to private school. That is unfair. They are hurting our children. And also it said it's not going to guarantee admission to a private school. Private schools in Tarrant County cost about $30,000. Who's going to pay the rest of that money? Our public schools accept everybody that walks through the door. Special needs, emergent bilingual, everybody, without asking a question. So we are doing a better our communications department is being revamped. We have a strong social media, and we are doing a better job, but we can advertise more of the great programs we have going on in the Fort Worth ISD. We have the Gold Seal programs. We had award-winning mariachi and fine arts. We have CTE. There's so many great things going on from children from pre-K to high school. Thank you.
Well, I would also echo that I'm certainly not in favor of the vouchers to go to private school. The way that I can sit there and justify that, I'm the head of admissions for the United States Naval Academy for Northwest Texas. Everything from DFW Airport to New Mexico and from the Panhandle down to Austin. I've got 10 students this year that are on the wait list or they've been admitted to the Naval Academy. All of them are either public schools or charter schools, and 70% of them are public schools. So I'm getting the best students that we've got, and they're coming out of our public schools. They're not coming out of our private schools. And I've had some from private schools here, but these are top quality kids that when we turn this country over to them, we're going to be in great shape. So we want to keep the money in our public schools. It needs to happen. Best thing I can tell you is go look at who got donations for what that are in politics, and you'll find out why we have some money going to private schools.
Thank you. As a proud product of public education and a first-generation college graduate, I wholeheartedly support public schools. The main focus here is that it passed, unfortunately, and now it's how are we going to answer to that? And I believe that the first way we're going to answer to that is we have to provide a quality education for every student that enters through the doors of a Fort Worth ISD school. It's super important. Also, we really have to work on the retention and attraction of certified teachers. We are now 250 plus teachers short in our district. And without a quality education for every student and without teachers, you do not have a district. And so we have to first, right out the gate, work on those two very important issues. And do I support vouchers? I do not support vouchers. I can't. I've heard both sides, and I do not support them. But I believe these are the two most important things that we have to start working on immediately, and it should not take 2 years for us to get going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to stay on the same topic. The Education Savings Account program prioritizes low-income families. That will ultimately impact the bottom line for Fort Worth ISD, where 8 in 10 students come from a low-income family. How will you manage the budget with this new challenge? And we'll start with you, Edwell.
That's a tough question. We have to look beyond our state funding. We have to look and see what else can we find. Sit on. What else can we find money from the federal government, from grants, to recuperate that money that we're not getting from the state?
I think the majority of us know that those programs are not going to go to low-income students. The low-income students are going to continue to be in Fort Worth ISD. We're going to continue to serve them. A lot of them have a lot of the challenges that Dr. Rodriguez has mentioned before, and Fort Worth ISD is going to accept every student, whatever learning disability, whatever special need they have. The question that I've been raising with our legislators is, what happens when a student goes to a private school or another campus and then ultimately gets turned back to us? Then what happens? That was what I kept asking our legislators, because we know that that's what happens. It happens now. It happens today. We constantly see our charter school kids returning to us as well, and so that is something that, like Anael just said, we will have to manage our budget and seek other funding sources, because we know that Fort Worth ISD is going to continue to serve a majority of low-income students.
It's important to leave no stone unturned when we're looking for savings at Fort Worth ISD. And I don't want to sound a negative tone too much, but just a few years ago, we were hearing about growth, that we need to pass a $750 million bond package. And we lacked the anticipation of the problem that we find ourselves in now. At the Benbrook High School meeting, community meeting, Fort Worth ISD leaders cited lower birth rates as a cause for our dropping enrollment. And they said, and that's been happening for over a decade, going back to 2012, I believe the speaker said. So if it's been happening for over a decade and we're in 2025, why do we find ourselves in a financial crisis now? We need to, again, leave no stone unturned in cutting costs in Fort Worth ISD with always focusing on what's happening in the classroom. We need to maintain the best programs, the best options, and the focus has to be on what students are achieving. Yes, we have to make some difficult decisions because of the budget crisis, and it is a crisis. That's an area where I think one of the fellow challengers said, well, we as challengers don't have quite the same access as the incumbents do. And that's true. The budget is a few hundred pages or so. And as a trustee, that's where we listen to public input. And as a trustee, I will always recognize that my strength is I bring classroom experience and not a financial perspective. But I'll do everything I can to learn, to listen and learn, and I'll keep that focus on the classroom.
Yes, we need to develop more partnerships, more avenues for resources. The grants, we used to apply for several grants, but now with the dismantling of the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., I don't know if those dollars are going to be available anymore. So we have about $61 million in grants that we use mostly for special education, for teachers. So we do have a healthy fund balance right now, but we cannot continue to dip into those funds because it's going to run out in the future. But we have to do a great job of evaluating our return on investment for every dollar we spend and make sure every dollar is spent in the classroom.
Well, we're all looking at ways to how do we save money. The proposal from administration at this point about the closing of facilities basically saves us $175 million over 5 years. And so that's not bad. That's a start. So if we can save that, we can turn around then, and it pays for the pay raise we gave teachers last year that came out of fund balance and covers 1 or 2 more pay raises in the future, which we need to do. So those things are happening. That's one way that we're trying to save money. But all of it means we've got to be focused on the budget in all things. I wish we could sit there and not have as much technology in everybody's face all the time. I think that's been one of the degrading things in schools. From kindergarten on up, everybody's got a computer, everybody's got a phone in their hand. So maybe we can save money by just having classroom sets on some of these things until they get to high school when they need that. So there are a bunch of issues through there that we will work through on how we save money and how we sit there and organize the district to keep as much fiscal sanity as we possibly can.
First, I would like to commend Dr. Molinar for already addressing some issues ahead of time. I'm not sure if you are aware, but she's already started cutting from the top, which we were very top heavy in our district, to realign money with our concerns in literacy and addressing student needs. I'm aware that hard, very challenging decisions lie ahead of us with school closures, with budget. But I feel like if we have the right people on the board, we're going to be able to, again, gain that community trust back and have them a seat at the table as well. In addition to that, we are going to be able to make those hard decisions, but always to put students first. And that's the tremendous thing that we really have to look at right now, is to ensure that our students have the needs met in the classroom above all else.
Testing. Okay, navigating state and federal education policies obviously will be complex, number one. Number two, we discuss, or it's been a discussion about whether or not closing schools could be that 71 I think, millions closing schools, that could be monies that be given back to the district. I believe that there might be a need to reassess the matrix used in creating those particular lists. We might not close as much as because we might find monies other places. And then I will concur with the fact that the literacy charge, $21.1 million to be given to students. That's the new. That's the priority number one. That's the way to go. So when we're cutting things, we're cutting top heavy. I know I'm sounding confusing, but I have it right in my mind. Top heavy, I've seen a lot of the answers, or heard a lot of the answers in a lot of other different questions or answers up here. However, top heavy, making sure that we use the right matrix when it comes to closing schools, and making sure the key focus is that we do what is the best commitment for Fort Worth ISD students. And that's education, good education, actually great education.
The district says it can no longer afford to operate so many under-enrolled schools. What principles would guide your decisions on possible closures? And do you believe the district is doing enough? We'll start with Roxanne.
Well, one of the things that we've done already is created the community task force. We wanted the community input into this. As when I first joined as a trustee, I never imagined that I have to be closing campuses, but that's where we are, and I think it's really important that we listen to our community and they can help guide us in that. What principles that we're looking at? There's a number of things that the consultant has shared with us. We've gotten different reports on the state of the facilities, the conditions they're in, the enrollment numbers, but I think we have to look beyond that. I'm taking a close look at the performance of the schools, also taking a close look at the unintended consequences of closing schools. One of the things I can say about this process has been, it has been refreshing to see how much passion there is for our public schools. People have been coming out. No one wants their neighborhood school to close, and I don't want to have to close any neighborhood schools. I wish we didn't. And so that's been refreshing to have people coming out advocating. And I think we have to look at every single option before we shut down a school. But there are a number of factors, and I will say, looking at unintended consequences, such as if we close a school, would we lose those students or would they go to another school? Also, how could we recruit more students? What programs need to be added to recruit more students to those schools? And so I'm looking at a variety of things.
There was recently an article in the paper by two ladies, I believe they were in charge of the PTA for McLean and Daggett, and putting those schools together. That's a sensible, factual, it's not hypothetical, it's a plan. That contrasts so greatly when I was at the Benbrook meeting, where we had a consultant hired by the Ben Middle High School meeting at the community input at the end of February, where the district brought a consultant who presented options and continuously distanced himself from his own remarks, saying this is just an abstract, that it will change greatly before the end. We need straight talk about, and we need answers to those questions, where we should be, any incumbent should be able to say, Dr. Molinar, our superintendent, her matrix is this, the following. And the ones I just heard from my colleague to the right make perfect sense. We have to look at the dollars. We have to look at the performing schools. We have to look at the neighborhood. If it's spending 3 times as much per student at this school, that makes sense. We have to avoid where we're just the squeaky wheel, where we're not looking at the overall big picture, and just because a parent group is here or another group, we don't hear it as much from the school. Like we just heard, no one wants to close their neighborhood school. So focus on everything we can, no stone unturned to cut costs, to keep those schools open.
There may be school closures for a myriad of reasons. Lower enrollment is one of them, and also our facilities are an average of 50 years old. We haven't had a facilities master plan since Dr. Melody Johnson, who's in the audience, did one prior to the 2007 bond. We passed a $1.2 billion bond in 2021, and the facilities master plan is just coming to completion, is now in 2025. And they have done a great job, gone through every single elementary school, middle school, high school, walked every corridor, classroom, and they have a building standard index, I believe what they said, where the condition of our buildings, they're like good, fair, poor, and critical. And way too many of our schools are in the poor range. And in the next 5 years will be critical. So some of those buildings will not be functional. They've served their lifespan. And unfortunately, I'm sure you saw on the news recently that SS Dilla will be closed at the beginning of the next school year because that building is unsafe. So these are questions we need to answer. We need to do our due diligence, and we have to do it soon.
As we look at closing schools and what ought to happen, everybody is in favor of closing schools and saving money, except at their own school. They want to stay. I will tell you that my father went to Fort Worth Central High School when Mr. Pascal was the principal. It's now known as Trimble Tech. So it's been around for a long time because he graduated back in 1933. So it'll tell you how old some of our buildings are. Great looking building with neat stuff in it. A lot of them don't meet the ADA requirements that we need to have. They've done everything they can to make it work. But if we go into some of these schools and do major work, we spend a whole lot of money just making them meet the ADA requirements. So we're going to look at all the schools, at the concerns the parents have. I love the fact that I've had so many people email me with concerns about their school. And it's great to know, and we'll make the best choice we can. Sometimes it's going to be made on, is this going to cause us to have more bus routes? How do we make that shorter so we don't have to worry about busing kids as much? So we're working on that issue too. So those are all things that come up for us. And then again, part of it is how do we save funds so we don't have to raise taxes, that we can meet the needs that we have to face for our teachers and for our students.
Unfortunately, across the United States, these are issues that many districts are having to face of closing schools. And we are to the point where we have to do that in order to sustain. I have not been privy to budget or the matrix, if you will, of how to close schools, but obviously there are obvious things that we need to look at. Locations, the facilities. One thing we desperately are going to have to focus on is busing and transportation. I know that Dr. Molinar just hired a great individual to help us with that, and I'm hoping that we can have those things addressed and ready to go by the time that we are going to have to bus children to another location, to a school. Unfortunately, we have come to this, and I am ready to help make the hard decisions. I just think that as we do that, we need to make sure that communities feel like things are done with them and not to them. Thank you.
Jacob, I think I anticipated this question, right? I kind of started hitting it at what I was confusing the last answer. The reason that I said that I believe that there might be a reassessment needed for the matrix of closing various schools. Dave Savala, Roxanne, did I get it right this time? Okay, I said it wrong in an interview that we had. I wanted to make sure I said it right. It's slated for closing, but in one of the meetings, I think March 28th, the people who go in and assess that building said it was 73%. It wasn't a failing like SS Dillard. So yes, obviously safety is a concern. Number one, we don't want anybody in any condemned building, obviously not. Two, yes, we're all from the community, and we don't want our school or our heart to close. Make sure that I want the community to know that I'm going to be listening and very transparent and hear you when you have a concern about closure. I'll keep your child in mind when we think about that. But I want to be fair. And like it was said, we're not particularly privy to the budget now. I've been trying to get what I can. So those are the things that I can say in general until I actually see the work, the budget.
Thank you for the question. This is a topic that we all want to save money, like Dr. Ryan said. We don't want it to be our home school. We don't want to be the school that is in our neighborhood. We created this task force that has met multiple times. And the school conversation started over a year ago about closing schools. We can no longer operate schools with 250 students. You have a principal, you have an assistant principal, you have all the overhead on a school that has low enrollment. We cannot continue to do that. We have to close the schools to be able to move on. We cannot continue to rely on bonds to keep up with the maintenance of schools. 21 voters passed a $1.2 billion bond for middle schools and for elementary schools. We cannot continue to go out there and ask for more money to renovate all buildings that we have. Dr. Rodriguez mentioned the school that is about to be closed at the end of the school year is for safety issues. So we need to make those hard choices, those hard decisions, and it's not easy.
We're going to move to closing statements, and we'll start with Terry first. And you have 2 minutes.
First of all, thank you everyone for being here this evening. It's absolutely essential that we have as much community involvement. And I've been on the inside for quite a bit, from about 96 to about 2019, working as a teacher, a substitute. I taught up in New England, taught in Austin. And since I left schools in 2019, I've been a passionate advocate for reform. Again, there's nothing more essential than schools. And when we're united, our voice against programs like vouchers, which take money out, and I want to just respect to all my colleagues here on the board, that when we're united in concern for kids and focused on what matters, believing in Fort Worth, we can achieve so much. My experience is in the classroom. So when I'm in budget, I might have to check notes and turn to someone more experienced in finance. But I think that's one thing we lack on the board. I'm the teacher who's worked in Fort Worth ISD for many years in the electives, which when I mentioned earlier about equity for teachers, you really see the lack of equity in the assignment and the number of students, the facilities that we get. So as a school board member, I'm going to stay focused on what's happening in the classroom. Sure, we've got to know the budget. We've got to look at vouchers in Austin that's coming, the impact. We've got to look at facilities. But we need a fresh perspective on teachers, empowering teachers. We don't really have, in Fort Worth ISD, we have the District Advisory Committee, but we don't have powerful groups of teachers working together to solve problems. When I started in '99, teachers from across the district, we'd have Spanish and French and German teachers. Look at how many languages have left Fort Worth ISD that we don't have in schools where we used to have a lot of languages. So I want to re-energize Fort Worth ISD. We have everything we need, great teachers, great students, and we've got some good administrators. We've got some great administrators too, but we need to focus on the classroom.
Thank you for having us here this evening. And I too was a substitute teacher for a year after college, and from kindergarten to 12th grade, it is a very, very hard job, and you need to be dedicated to the kids. I quickly went on to medical school because teaching was so hard. So I understand and I know what we need to give back to our teachers, and we need our teachers to be committed to Fort Worth ISD, to our students, to everybody that walks through their door. And I am running again, as I've always said, because of the stellar education I received and I am committed to every single student receiving the same type of education. And when they graduate, ready to join the workforce, go to college, join the military, or whatever they like, whatever they find they love in school, to become that profession. There is a sense of urgency, and I hope y'all re-elect me so this team of 10 can continue the work and bring our future generation to life. Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited to be here. I will tell you that being on the board, all the members of this board have the best desire for every student we've got to be successful. It doesn't change by where they live in the town, what they're doing. They want everybody to be successful. And I'm here to make that happen. As a high school principal, when we were successful, it was because I went to my department heads and said, what do you need? Got it for them, and we could go from low performing to recognized. When I was a band director, it was basically, they'd ask me what I need, I'd tell them, I'd tell the kids what we needed to do, and they got us national and state championships, and it was really neat stuff to do. I have been fortunate in 48 years in education to work with 20 superintendents. I will tell you that I had 3 really top-notch superintendents. The first one I had was Robert Duran in San Antonio. The second was Melody Johnson when I came to Fort Worth, mainly because I think she brought me here. So I really respect her for that, because it was really nice to do that. And the third is the one we've got now in Fort Worth. And Karen Molinar is making a difference, and we're going to give her what she needs to keep making that difference.
I want you to imagine with me right now that there are 10 children lined up in front of you. And 7 of them would have to go over here and say, I either cannot read or I cannot read on level. And over here, 3 would get to go say that I can read on level and that I'm equipped with what I need to be successful. When you talk about our African American population of students, you could line up the same 10 children, and 8 of them would have to go here and say, I cannot read or I cannot read on level. And 2 of them would go here and say that I could. And this board desperately needs a literacy specialist teacher who has been in a literacy classroom for 18 years to help guide, to make sure when presentations are given that I will know exactly how they look in the classroom, and to support our students and our teachers. The lens of a current teacher and a current parent in this district is highly needed, and it's a lens that I would love to share with my fellow board members. In the hard work ahead of us, it's a must. Equally, someone who is knowledgeable about IEPs, 504s, and dyslexia is highly needed, and I am qualified to help in that area. I would be super, super grateful if you would consider voting for me and electing me to serve in this district. And I feel like it is a deep calling that I have to answer to. Thank you.
We were at a forum last night. What I said then was, we are a village. It takes a village. Part of that village is you, maybe volunteering to help with the literacy and the reading programs that we have. Part of that village is me. I know you're like, why is she up here, retired flight attendant? I'm someone that's in the trenches right now. I serve as a substitute teacher at Fort Worth ISD. I've done it really my whole career as a flight attendant, but especially now since I've retired. I am currently at CC Moss 2 days a week. I am working with special education dyslexia, going in immersions, and I'm so glad they're changing dyslexia under a literacy format. I appreciate that more. So I see firsthand, I'm working firsthand, dealing with phonics, vocabulary, those things that are necessary to make sure that everyone can read. I'm a believer in every student should be able to read my sign. Robin Kelly, a candidate for Fort Worth ISD, District 9, I believe. And the third thing is the community. Parents, all of us, these kids are our future. These are the future leaders, the future mayor, they're the workforce, and I believe in them. So I'd like to close with this. Yeah, I believe in public education, I do. That's my platform. I believe in fixing what we have, literacy, mathematics, 30% literacy, 19% mathematics. I believe in the future of children. I'm gonna do an addendum there. I know we all believe in the future of children. So let's mandate great education, and I'm here to be a part of that, to be one to talk to the elephant in the room and really discuss what's necessary. Thank you. I do believe.
Thank you. We are all here because we care deeply about our students. We care deeply about the education of every child in Fort Worth. And we care about the city. We want our children to be successful and to go out there and live college life and come back. But we want to be able for them to come back because we are a successful city and there are jobs for them to come back. I decided to run against for re-election because the district has focused squarely on making literacy central to our mission. This is central to who I am. I had to come to this country and learn to read and write in English. And I had to do it when I was much older than most students when they begin in kindergarten. I know the importance of literacy. And I know the value as someone who went to a higher education. My goal is to ensure that every student in Worth ISD has the opportunity to succeed in our public schools, specifically that Worth ISD remains the only avenue for success to the vast majority of residents in Fort Worth.
In 2021, I ran because students asked me for representation on the school board. I am committed and continue to bringing the student-centered perspective. Over the last 4 years, I've helped the district navigate through some challenging times, through the pandemic, through leadership transitions, but always with the focus on students first. My constituents have come to learn that I'm accessible and responsive. They contact me through social media. They see me at campus events almost every day of the week. They know they don't have to come to a board meeting to speak with me. And if I'm reelected, I am committed to supporting the superintendent's literacy initiatives, staying laser focused on literacy and including a literacy-focused budget, but also holding the superintendent accountable for our student outcomes, just as we've laid out through the strategic plan. Also continue to work to build and foster the community partnerships that will support literacy and enhance educational opportunities for all of our students. And then the other two goals or priorities I have is around financial sustainability and improved transparency. The board can address these, and someone else said, when we're united, we can achieve a lot, and we can do this through the implementation of good governance. We've already adopted a strategic plan, but ensuring that it's implemented, monitoring progress, the completion of our master facilities plan, and effective communication with our stakeholders, all of our stakeholders. Improvement in these key areas will improve the issues we have around declining enrollment and stakeholder mistrust, and we will be able to retain great teachers, staff, and our students and families when we achieve these things. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the candidates, and I appreciate y'all coming for our first part of our forum. We're going to switch over to Tarrant County College Board candidates right at 6:30. So thank you. So welcome to the Tarrant County College Board portion of our forum. So candidates have 2 minutes for opening remarks, 90 seconds for their responses, and 2 minutes for their closing statements. Our volunteers will hold up reminders that you are 30 seconds to time and a stop sign when time is up. Gwendolyn Morrison, who's running unopposed for District 6, is not here, while our 3 candidates here are running for District 7 after Ken Barr decided not to seek a second 6-year term. Let's get started with introductions.
Is this on? Or?
They're on.
Darn, okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Veronica Chavez-Law, and I just want to first thank all of you for being here, and for ladies and gentlemen in the audience, those that are watching live and those that will watch after this. I really appreciate you caring about education in Tarrant County. I'm a commercial real estate, business, law, and banking attorney, and I've lived in Tarrant County for 30 years. I grew up in southern Colorado in a very rural area, and the closest educational institution was a community college 30 miles away. My mother went to a community college. I took a community college class in my high school that ended up being very important to me as I finished my undergraduate degree, because without that credit, that one credit from that single community college class, I would have had to take out another student loan to stay an extra semester. So I really believe in community colleges and the system and the affordable and accessible opportunity that they provide to everyone. Another fun fact about me is that I've been married for 20 years to my husband, Tom Waugh. We just celebrated our 20th year anniversary in September. Thank you for being here.
Howdy, folks. My name is Kerry Cheshire. I am a fiscal conservative, limited government watchdog with a history of kind of exposing malfeasance in government. I did a lot of work with Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, serving as its president down in Austin after I got out of Texas A&M. Originally, I'm from Southeast Texas, but my family's been in Tarrant County for over 100 years. My great-grandfather actually worked downtown for Union Pacific Railroad at the Fort Worth Club. I'm running for Tarrant County College because I also support education. I think it's fantastic that we have a neighborhood college that helps us to equip young people with the workforce development needs that they're going to need to get a job, the certifications that they're going to need to, kind of pursue their own business, or maybe kind of the basic credits that they're going to need to transfer on to a 4-year university and get kind of that more established diploma. I actually attended some classes at Tarrant County College to finish my degree from Texas A&M, so I actually know that it works. And like Veronica, I think it's very, very important where we have dual credit programs and opportunities for young people to get that college credit at an affordable institution like Tarrant County College when they're young, so that they can hopefully go to college with a couple more credits under their belt to help them be able to graduate in 4 years. I'm running for this because I think that Tarrant County College can do an even better job of serving our community. We can do an even better job of serving our taxpayers. We can cut the tax rate below the no new revenue rate, which I think I'm the only candidate that's running that has talked about. Right now, we've got record inflation, we've got tariffs, we've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I think that every family in Tarrant County would appreciate being able to keep more of their hard-earned money. And the way that we do that is by lowering taxes below the no new revenue rate and identifying ways to streamline this budget so that it serves taxpayers. I'm excited to be here, and I thank you all for coming.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Corral, and I would like to thank you for hosting this forum tonight. It's actually the first candidate forum in this district in many years. I'm actually a former graduate of Tarrant County College, and I've attained my associate's degree in library technician for Tarrant County College, and I'm also the former student senate chairman at the Tarrant County College South Campus executive board within the Student Government Association. I've also earned a Bachelor's of Arts in History through the University of Texas at Arlington and worked with their Student Government Association within UTO and TCC. I'm currently working on my Master's of Library Science within the University of North Texas, and I'm in talks of joining the Graduate Student Council. A lot of my ex-colleagues within a bunch of my ex-colleagues within the South Campus Student Government Association approached me to run for the TCC board just as they did 6 years ago, so that on the TCC board, student interests are heard as well as taxpayers. And one of the things I noticed working within these various colleges and universities that not all voices are heard, and I think it's important that we create a good learning environment for everyone and not do anything to shut people out if they disagree over something.
Time. Thank you, Hunter. So our first question is, TCC has recently been in the headlines for its efforts to comply with Senate Bill 17, a Texas law that bans diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within public universities. The NAACP recently had to move an event from the TCC South Campus due to the college unexpectedly pulling its sponsorship of the event. What is your stance on SB 17 and its impact on TCC? And we'll start with Carrie.
Yeah, so I have full support for Senate Bill 17. I think it was a long overdue bill. I think when we think about historically, colleges and universities have been areas where kind of individual intellectual ideas were allowed to blossom. And somehow along the way, they became kind of areas where indoctrination rather than education was reigning supreme. And the state had to step in. The fact of the matter is that our state's voters and our county's voters do not want DEI in education. Tarrant County College had it, and the state had to pass a law to ban it. I think that was a failure by Tarrant County College because at the end of the day, what we're here to do is to focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're here to focus on workforce development. We're not here to get engaged in political debates. There's plenty of opportunities. There's tons of nonprofit organizations. There's tons of political organizations. If you want to be part of the Tarrant County Democrat Party, Tarrant County Republican Party, Green Party, Libertarian Party, you're welcome to do that. But the community college is there really to help people get their welding certificate, help people get their graphic design certificate so that they can go into the workforce and be productive members of our society, or for kind of young high school kids to get that college credit. So I think one of the things that we need to do at the Tarrant County College District Board level is to remove that kind of political stuff, focus on our core function of government, in this case, which is to provide value to taxpayers and lower rates.
Hunter?
Well, the SB 17 is a more recent development, and as you know, the district predates most of all the controversial subjects that have been going on these past recent years. In fact, the TCC is over 50 years old, believe it or not, established in the 1960s, and the district has survived more controversial crises than this situation. Now, first off, I always hated politics, and DEI is one of those situations where essentially not everyone's gonna agree with it. It's caricature said or whatever. I actually tend to be progressive on most issues. I want to ensure that a very good learning environment is created for everyone, regardless of whether or not you agree with all the statements or not. We shouldn't be picking sides on who we want to serve in this community, and I think it's embarrassing that various groups of, sorry.
Okay, so SB 17 is a law, and I think that in all situations, TCC needs to follow the law. I do know that there was an audit of TCC's curriculum and hiring practices and classes recently, and that there was very little evidence that they were violating, or very little instances where they were doing something that arguably was against Senate Bill or prohibited by Senate Bill 17. I've said this before, I believe in diversity. Tarrant County has a diverse community, and everybody needs to have accessible and affordable, an opportunity for accessible and affordable education that Tarrant County College provides. If we keep that accessible and affordable, the student body will be diverse because the community will be going to get education there. We need to focus on continuing to educate the workforce for today and remain nimble so that we can continue to prepare the workforce for the needs that are developing in technology with the additional people that are moving to Tarrant County. I've lived through being at a liberal university where a lot of these socialist programs such as Equity for Everybody were talked about a lot, and I did not like it. I did not like feeling that because I was Hispanic, I needed extra help. So I'm against any kind of those programs, but I do believe that if we keep the education accessible and affordable, the community college will be diverse.
How would you work with the college to comply with the law and navigate its impact on students and the community? We'll start with you, Hunter.
Well, for starters, when it comes to working with the government, in most cases, they don't really give you a choice in the matter. Essentially, most government agencies or government identities typically are not allowed to overturn state and federal regulations. A few years ago, I was essentially on academic probation just for failing one or two classes, and I got into this really bad grievance with financial aid, and they basically explained to me they can't change the law so I could get back on financial aid, but they pointed me to ways where my financial situation could be resolved. So I think collaboration between, different government bodies is important, and we do everything through the legal means. In this case, it'd be like the state legislator in this case, who is really the rule-making authority in this state. Which is what, sorry.
Veronica?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
How would you work with the college to comply with the law SB 17 and navigate its impact on students and the community?
Well, again, I think that TCC in all instances needs to follow the law. And I'm not here as its attorney to interpret what that means to TCC, but I will say that if I get elected into this position, that I will work very hard to make sure that TCC continues to generate partnerships with local businesses and other area of institutions so that the students that attend TCC will have a pathway either for a certification to begin their career after 2 years or to continue on to one of the universities such as Texas A&M. I've told people this before, but they'd have a great program there that allows a student that wants to be get an engineering degree to start at TCC for 2 years, gets the basics done, and then continue on to Texas A&M. That's a wonderful opportunity. The school also provides a dual program where there are students that can be going to high school and going to TCC at the same time. So essentially, they're getting their AA or AS degree from TCC the week before they get their high school diploma. These are the type of programs that if I get elected, I will continue to make sure happen at TCC.
Yeah, I'll step in, and I think Veronica is absolutely right in terms of the workforce development aspect. And selfishly, as someone who attended A&M, I'm a very big fan of that program as well. But as it relates to Senate Bill 17 in particular, I think it's very important that there was an audit that was done. But I've had a number of parents, a number of students who have continued to reach out to me, identifying issues that continue to exist. And all of these issues, put the college in legal jeopardy, put the college in a position to where they might be hauled into court and have to pay an attorney. So I think part of our fiduciary responsibility as trustees is going to be going through additional university policies, going through the libraries, going through potentially syllabi, and ensuring that professors and programs are focused on the core functions of the college, which are making sure that high school kids get the credit that they need, making sure that our neighbors who choose to go to Tarrant County College and get a certification are getting the certifications that they need to be a welder, to be a graphic designer, to be a coder, to be a nurse, not to allow tax dollars to be used in a way that the state legislature and ultimately the voters of Tarrant County have said that they don't want them to be used.
What kinds of policies would you advocate for at the legislative level, local, state, and federal to support TCC? We'll start with Veronica.
I would advocate, again, for policies that continue to the great work that TCC is doing. TCC educates our nurses, our firefighters, our automotive technicians, people that work in the hotel and restaurant industry. So I would want to make sure and fight for every dollar that we could to get from the state to get to TCC to continue these programs. I do know also that, as Carrie mentioned, taxes are always very important to people, and I believe that it's about 2/3 of the budget of TCC gets funded by the taxpayer. So as I've said in my platform, I will want to ensure that there are fiscally responsible policies for taxes that honor the taxpayers. All of you pay taxes to operate TCC, and I want to make sure that every budget item is accounted for and justified, and that the dollars are going to the actual educational needs of the students versus anything else.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that we need higher education reform in this country. I think that the rising costs of universities has been really pushed by the federal government through the student loan program, where we have this the increased students' ability to borrow every single year or near it, and accordingly the universities are increasing that. Now, Tarrant County College has done a pretty good job if you compare tuition rates at Tarrant County versus like Dallas County or McLennan County or kind of some similar peer institutions. But I think that we can do a lot better. One of the best things that I think that we've had move through the legislature this session is a bigger focus on career and technical education in our high schools, where we have a fantastic opportunity to have partnerships with the community college, so that we can have people engage in maybe step 1 and step 2 at their local high school, and then be admitted directly into a workforce development program at the college. I think that's a fantastic thing. I think also, as we're talking about student loans and the ability of people to get a low-cost certification or kind of the credits that they would need to attend a 4-year university, I think continuing to have the partnerships with colleges like Texas A&M, where you can do your basics here, where it's a lot cheaper a credit hour at Tarrant County College, and then you can go do your specialized coursework at the 4-year university is another really, really good way that we can deliver value for our taxpayers. But again, it comes down to the rate, which I think is very important for us to consider at TCC, which is we have to come and deliver value for taxpayers, and that means lowering the tax rate below the effective rate, the no new revenue rate.
All right. First off, both Veronica and Carrie make excellent points that we need to, as far as state level goes, we need to ensure that tax dollars are well spent, making sure that students have the ability to succeed in whatever career they want to ultimately go in. we want to make sure tuition is kept low and affordable. But we also need to ensure that all voices are heard. For example, I think TCC should hold more town halls with individual board members. We need to have basically be able to have a way to discuss decisions affecting the district outside the board meetings, give them a way to propose new taxes and participate on district level committees, because most colleges and universities are bureaucrats within elected officials. Texas Wesleyan, for example, has an elected regents, which is unacceptable. Students are not represented on college boards. Except Texas Wesleyan and the UT system.
This will be our last question before moving on to closing remarks. And this question is from SteerFW Worth. How can TCC continue to serve as a strong alternative to four-year degree paths, particularly in growing trade and technical fields? And we'll start with Kerry.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So one of the things that we've really kind of recognized, and I say we, I'm only 32, so I kind of knew it from a while, but it took kind of other people to learn the hard lessons, which is that not everyone needs to go to a four-year college. There's fantastic opportunities out there for people to go be welders, HVAC techs, electricians, plumbers. I mean, most plumbers are making more than pediatricians starting out right now, which is a fantastic, crazy thing that a master plumber is making more than a pediatrician or a family medicine doctor. And I think that we've taken so many students and we've pushed them into four-year universities, and we've deprived them of the opportunity by telling them wrongfully that they're not worth it unless they get a four-year college diploma. We should always have opportunities for people to go pursue the education that they want to, but we should say that, hey, there's value, there's opportunity at your neighborhood community college. And I think that starts with the trades, that starts with, kind of getting those basics to where you could transfer to another institution. And I think really we've just got to engage better with our up-and-coming young people and show them the opportunities and the pathways that exist.
Well, for starters, there is a proposal that I recently heard about within the TCC board that is ongoing deliberation, that there's a proposal to establish a bachelor's program within TCC. And a few years ago, the Texas State Legislature passed a bill that allowed community colleges to establish at the two bachelor's programs, and I think one of these proposed programs at TCC, I think it's a childhood development. I think at the South Campus is what it's called. And I think this would actually save students potentially a lot of money without having the need of going to a four-year university. And I think we need to look into ways of expanding opportunities to ensure that no student is constantly in debt. And I think there could be more opportunities, such as TCC has a really good teaching program. We should expand it to the bachelor's level.
Okay, Tarrant County College affects all of us, whether or not you went there, you have a child that goes there, somebody that works there. As I said, it prepares and educates our workforce. And I do think that TCC needs to be more appreciated by the community and to be recognized more. So we need to, and I think this can happen during high school, we need to get out there and talk to these students about the benefits of getting a certification. I mean, I agree with Kerry, not everybody needs to go get a four-year degree and in some, philosophy or major that they can't utilize when they graduate and then come out, a lot of times with hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. So let's highlight the certification programs for mechanics, for plumbers, make them feel appreciated, and continue to develop programs such as, and this happened recently, is we all know Taylor Sheridan's been around Fort Worth and Tarrant County filming his programs, and so he came to TCC and said, I don't have enough people to work in my film industry. I'd like to hire local people. Can you develop a program to train students to come, work in the movie industry after? TCC within 3 months developed that program. That's just an example of what TCC can do. So we need to listen to the businesses of what they need and be nimble and flexible to come up with those programs to fulfill those needs.
And we'll start closing statements with Hunter.
First off, I would like to thank the Fort Worth Report for holding this forum along with the League of Women Voters. And I hope that you will consider voting me if you want a candidate that can narrate things through a student perspective, which is important. A lot of the candidates that have ran for the TCC board in the past, not all of them were students. But we also have a lot of neighboring universities as well, where it's a common practice for board members to be alumni or a staff member, and I think it's important that we have members on the board that is familiar with its academic institution itself and has really good relationships with the faculty. I basically worked with pretty much every academic department within TCC, and I have a really good relationship with all of the administrators in various campuses. We may not have agreed on all issues, but we had a mutual understanding on what is best for the students in regards to what their educational goals were. And I think it's also important that we have board members that don't support sidism. And my experience working in student government is that it basically teaches you not to be pressured into making decisions like what we experience in many of the board members. They were basically influenced by political parties.
And ladies and gentlemen, tonight you are interviewing us for a job. Okay, so our resumes are important, and I just want to highlight again some of my resume. So I've been a business and banking and commercial real estate attorney in Tarrant County for about 25 years. So being a lawyer, I know how to ask the tough questions. I know how to negotiate. I know how to garner consensus, and that's what I plan to do if elected. I will be influential, but I will try to garner consensus. In addition, I have a record of community service. For 2 decades, I've been volunteering in the community. I've chaired the Board of Leadership Fort Worth, and I've chaired the Board of Fort Worth Sister Cities International. I've been on the Tarrant County Bar Association board and several other nonprofit boards, including the AIDS Outreach Center. So that's just an example of my dedication to this community and to making it better. And I'm not going to let the age of my young opponents be held against me. But I don't think either one of them can say that they're an attorney, nor that can they say that they have two-decade record of community service. So I just, again, you are interviewing us tonight, and I think I'm the best candidate to fill this job.
Yeah, well, I want to thank my 2 competitors for being here for Fort Worth Report and Texas Wesleyan for throwing this on. My name is KERA Cheshire. I'm asking for your vote. I am the fiscal conservative candidate that is running for this position. We've heard a lot of really interesting things, different perspectives from the candidates, but there's only one of them that has promised to lower your taxes below the no new revenue rate, and that's me. I'm supported by our county judge, our county sheriff, by community leaders all across this county because they know that I'm a fighter who gets results. I'm not going to be afraid to dig deep into the budget and find waste, fraud, and abuse opportunities to deliver better value for our students and our taxpayers, and ultimately for the working families who use Tarrant County College for the certification or the credit that they need. I think that we need more young people getting involved in all of the system. We need more young people being involved at Tarrant County College. And we need just a whole new lens that we review kind of the Tarrant County College through. It's on every individual in the state. It's on your tax bill. Your neighbors are going to it. The people at your hospital are going to it. The people at your school are going to it. It's something that truly does touch everyone in this community. And we have an opportunity to make it even better. We have an opportunity to make sure that it delivers values for its students, value for our taxpayers, and value for the voters who have expressed what they want and what they desire for Tarrant County College. So again, my name is Kerry Cheshire. You can find out more about me at kerrycheshire.com. I am the fiscal conservative in this race who is running to lower your taxes and ensure that Tarrant County College is focused on its core function of credit and workforce development. And I humbly ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you to our candidates for joining us tonight. Up next, we'll have our Tarrant Regional Water District Board candidates. If you all can start making your way up here, and we'll get started shortly. Final forum for tonight, and it's the Tarrant Regional Water District Board. Three of the 5 seats on the board are up for election. And just a reminder for our rules, candidates have 2 minutes for opening remarks, 90 seconds for their responses to our questions, and 2 minutes for their closing statements. Our volunteers who are sitting right here in the front will hold up reminders that you are 30 seconds to time and a stop sign when time is up. And I will stop you if I have to. And let's get started with introductions. We'll start with you first.
Thank you to the Fort Worth Report, Texas Wesleyan, and everyone that's come out tonight for these forums. My name is Andrew Brinker. I'm running for the Tarrant Regional Water District Board to support the dedicated staff I've had the privilege of working with since 2017. As a biologist, educator, and environmental advocate, I believe the future of our water depends on sound science, strong partnerships, and a deep commitment to public education. With 18 years of experience teaching science in Fort Worth ISD and a background as a field biologist, I've dedicated my career to connecting students with the natural world, especially the Trinity River, which runs through the heart of our community. Education is essential to long-term water stewardship, and TRWD's Conservation and Education team is doing incredible work to help the next generation understand how our water is managed and why it must be protected. If you check out their social media today, you'll see an example of their education staff coming out and working with me there at the Trinity River on campus. I've seen firsthand how hands-on experience in nature inspires lasting stewardship. My expertise in biology and ecology will help ensure board decisions remain grounded in science and sustainability. A strong example of TRWD's forward-thinking work is its investment in wetlands, natural systems that improve both water quality and supply. I'm not running to change direction, I'm running to support, strengthen, and elevate the important work already underway at TRWD. Thank you.
Thanks so much for, it's on. Okay. Thanks so much for everyone hanging with us tonight. I know it's been a long time, and I appreciate you guys staying with us. My name is Jonathan Killebrew. I am a building official, and I own and operate a company called Metro Code here in the city of Fort Worth. I was actually born in Waco, but my parents moved me here to Fort Worth as quick as they can a few months after being born, and I've lived here my whole life. I started my career in 2004 as an energy inspector. And what that means is that I was going around to houses and commercial buildings and looking to evaluate how those houses can be utilized better for energy conservation efforts and how we can better develop those resources. As my career progressed, I entered into the plumbing field, the electrical field, the mechanical field, and the building field, and the fire science field. So I became, at the time, the youngest master code professional in the nation, which means that I was certified in all trades. What I did was I then went and became a SPEAR ambassador, which is energy ambassador for the state of Texas. And I worked with utility contractors and developers and how we can utilize those resources. Texas is a vibrant, growing community, and we love that. We love that we're a growing community, but how do we cope with those resources? How do we sustain that growing population and those utilities? And so what I've done is I spent my career really working with those utility contractors and those developers to make sure that we're using those conservation efforts, but we're also increasing those services. So my hope is that I can bring a technical expertise to the board and use that experience to help work with community members to work on water conservation efforts, but also bring my technical expertise to the board to help on work on those projects. The board is at a really unique place where they have a lot of projects that are ready to get started, and I'm excited to help push those over the line.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leah King, and I am so thrilled to be here with all of you. So first off, just thank you to Steer Fort Worth, to League of Women Voters, Fort Worth Report, Texas Wesleyan, Arcpoint, and KERA. I think those are all the organizations that are putting this on. So thanks to each of you for bringing together a group of people, both in person and online, that are interested in learning exactly what happens within our community. It is this kind of engagement that is absolutely necessary to ensure that we all have the opportunity to hear ideas, suggestions, and then make our own selections from an educated background. So a little bit about me. I have had the pleasure of serving on the board for the past 8 years. This would be my third term if reelected. During the past 4 years, I've been honored to serve as the board president, and I was elected to that role over every 2 years, so twice in the last 4 years. A lot of numbers there, but by the board members themselves. And the reason is this, as you all may have recalled, the board and the organization as a whole has had a recent history of some turmoil, and we needed to have some things cleaned up, a lot of things cleaned up. And it's been a very hard role to have. However, it has been my honor and my pleasure to serve alongside a dedicated set of board members who are focused on doing the right things for the right reasons. At the end of the day, we are here to provide water and to protect our community from flooding. We have assets that are available by virtue of those two charges that then make recreation available, either on some of the lakes, a lot of the trail systems that we all love to enjoy. So I'm running again to make sure that some of the things that we started, particularly on cleaning up some of the governance items that we did, we invested a ton of time and work in and have made tremendous progress. We still have some work to do, so I'm looking forward to serving again. Thank you.
Okay, everyone that's still here, kudos to you because it's 7 p.m. and dinner time, so thank you for sticking around to listen to all of us talk about water. It is one of the most important resources that we need as we are a growing city. My name is Skylar Brogdon O'Neill. I have been married for 10 years. I do remember my last name. I am from Fort Worth. I grew up out towards Eagle Mountain Lake, so water is very near and dear to my heart. I traveled far and wide for college, all the way to TCU, proud TCU graduate, and I currently have re-engaged with TCU through their Ralph Lowe Energy Institute that focuses on natural resources. I am a principal with Summit Cove Investments, where I manage the day-to-day operations of the office. I also work with the executive stakeholders and communicate between both the internal and external individuals of the group. I'm running for TRWD board because I understand how critical they are to the success of both Fort Worth and Tarrant County. We are growing at such a rapid click that we need to make sure that we are securing those necessary resources for both the citizens that are here today and for those residents that are here in the future. But long term, we're talking 50, 100 years. We want to make sure that this city that we love continues to be the city that we love looking far out to the future. I believe that my experience will allow me to be an effective communicator both within the organization but also outside of the organization. And I also believe that my experience will bring the fiscal responsibility that I have learned to the organization as we make sure that we have a balanced budget and we make sure that the projects that we are focused on now and into the future are appropriately budgeted against what we need and what we need to be focused on to secure the success of Fort Worth as we look forward.
Our first question is from Steer Fort Worth. Water has been at the center of the Texas legislature this session as massive growth is stretching resources thin across the state. What should the water district be doing to expand water supply? And how would you ensure North Texas has enough water? And we'll start with Jonathan.
Yeah, fantastic question. This is part of those projects that I was talking about earlier that I'm very excited about what TRWD has already started to implement. They have a great kind of pipeline of these projects in order to supply, currently is 2.5 million people we supply raw water to. And that's just growing every year. So one of the projects they have is the IPL, which is the pipeline system. We established Cedar Creek and Richland Chambers and Lake Palestine, and those pipelines, we're increasing the size and the capacity of those pipelines to make sure that we go from 100 million gallons to 350 million gallons of water into Eagle Mountain Lake, continuing that water resource. But something that's recently come up at the last board meeting, and Leah can probably speak more about it, but what they're working on is essentially establishing an aquifer underground. So they drilled a hole 1,600 feet down, and what they're doing is they're going to fill the ground full of water and use it as a storage tank. And the great thing about that is it's now not being affected by evaporation, and so we're able to hold water during wet seasons and then use that water during dry seasons. So it's innovation like that that's really exciting. It's projects like that that are going to help move and continue to supply the water for our county.
So there are a number of projects, and the integrated pipeline, IPL, that Jonathan just mentioned is probably the most recent one to come almost fully online. The beauty of that is that the cost of that was shared with Dallas. And so one of the things that we need to do as an organization is to identify opportunities for partnerships wherever and whenever possible, because that's what helps to keep costs low. And having both entities split the cost, whereas the water district, TRWD, acts as the full project manager. So we handle our own bond sales, we handle the bond sales for Dallas, we handle all areas of project management for the integrated pipeline, but we do split the cost. And that is something that I would love to see the district continue as we are identifying additional things to do in the future to bring and to secure the water that we need for the future, and for all the folks that continue to move to our area is to figure out how do we share those costs as best as possible. The innovation is right, and right now that reservoir is in its test state. And probably about a year from now, we'll have some good data to be able to know whether or not all the water that goes in is how much comes out. That will be transformational. The other thing is strictly on conservation and educating the public at the municipal level, but literally at the household level on how effective behavior changes can be at helping us reduce the amount of water that we waste. So much water is wasted in our area every single day, and we all see it running down the ground. We've got to do a better job as citizens.
So the current TRWD board, they're doing a fabulous job. We are very lucky to have the group that we have today. We have a lot of projects that are in the pipeline that are solving this problem of water supply, and they are continuing to build upon this. It is our job as the board to continue to push them, or it's the board's job to continue to push them to make sure that they're staying on top of what those innovative solutions can be. We want to ensure that we can continue to be eyes that are seeing what's happening even outside of our own bubble, even outside of the Tarrant County area, the state, but what are people doing even on a broader scale that we can potentially bring back to Fort Worth? I think it's really, and to Tarrant County, I think it's incredibly important that we make this one of our main priorities, is making sure that we're staying up on what's happening in the innovation space, because technology is moving so fast. We can hardly keep up with it as it is. And we need to make sure that we are staying up to date on the most up-to-date technologies to ensure the long-term water supply success on top of the projects, and even in addition to the projects that the TRWD already is implementing.
Thank you for the question. One of the things that I'm most excited about as a biologist are the wetlands that they've already made and that they're continuing to make. I think using biology to clean the water, and the wetlands specifically, not only to clean the water, but to produce more water, is an excellent way to go about it. I also agree with Leah on the idea of conservation education. This is where I really come in as an educator. I just had, as you can see on social media today, the staff out at the river at my school to talk to the kids and educate them about the watershed and conserving water. I took a couple of notes when they were out there. There's about 7 staff on the conservation education program, and I think that's something that really needs to grow. In general, people don't really know about TRWD. They don't know where their water comes from or where it goes to. I mean, most of our water is piped in through this awesome pipeline from 90 miles away down there at Richland Chambers. Making sure that our students understand that, and that the general community understands where the water comes from, where it goes after it goes down the drain, is critically important. So I think that the conservation education staff needs to continue to get support from the board and continue to grow as the population grows. And that is one of the key strategies and initiatives that TRWD has in order to make sustainable water for the future. Thank you.
What is your view on the Central City Panther Island Flood Control Project, and how would you work to secure future funding under this new administration? And we'll start with Leah.
Sure. So my view on the project is that it is essential. It is something that will protect thousands of acres of property in the Central City Business District. And that is important for not just those businesses, but for the neighborhoods that are in that surrounding area as well. We've been fortunate during the time that I've been on the board to receive more than $420 million from the federal government to help support that. And in fact, just last week, or maybe about a week and a half ago, the Army Corps of Engineers issued initial RFPs to begin construction on the northern bypass channel for that project. That's a huge milestone in this project. Now, we know that things are very different in Washington, and so relying solely on federal funding is not a good strategy. We need to be sure that we continue to look there, but we have to also be very creative in thinking about what other mechanisms are available for us. So right now, the team is visiting not only with state leaders, but also local officials and business leaders to help us figure out how do we best make sure that we have the Army Corps finish what it started. The benefit that we have is that the Corps has never left a project incomplete. And this would not be the project that I would expect to be left incomplete. We would have we wouldn't be 50% done, but we would have quite a bit already completed, and the local community is already working together to make sure that we keep this moving forward.
I think that it doesn't really matter if you like the project or not. We're so far into this, we have to move forward. And to Leah's point, we've received a good chunk of the federal funding, and the landscape is different. I haven't lost hope that there's still a pathway forward to secure funding. I just think it's going to look a little bit different. I think the way that we secure it will look a little bit different, and the timeline to receive it is going to look a little bit different. Good people are working on that, and I think that we just need to make sure that we're continuing to communicate with those players, both up in Washington and now also on a state level. That's an area of communication that hadn't previously been more deeply explored, and I think that that is a really positive step forward in securing additional funding outside of a potential private-public partnership opportunity. But even in that space, we need to make sure that we're continuing to have good, strong conversations to ensure that that private-public partnership is an opportunity for us moving forward. It's an important flood control project that is going to be integral to the city as it continues to grow and as we complete this picture of how the city and the county is going to work together and look. But I believe that we will get there. It's just going to take a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated, and it's going to look a little bit different, but we are going to get there.
Thank you for the question. I'm excited about the project. I know it's going to get completed. It's just going to take a little bit longer than expected originally. We do need to find more funding. I think some of the ideas the other candidates mentioned are great. We need partners to help us with this. But this is also where I come in and have a different perspective than the other folks, because that's my study site. I've been researching that area, downtown Fort Worth, right at the confluence, for several years now. We've documented 32 species of fish, including some species of fish that show us that we've got great water quality down there, despite the trash that you see. So as we continue to develop this area, we got to keep in mind the species that are there, the species that are returning after it's all built, and how do those function with keeping our water clean. Just like Tarrant Region Water District has those wetlands to keep the water clean, everything depends on the biology of the river. If you go to the wastewater treatment plant, the way the water is cleaned after it goes down the drain is a biological process. They just put air into the water, into these big like pools that look like swimming pools, and the bacteria eat that organic material. And then you get the biosolids from it. Speaking of which, the whole PFAS thing, hopefully there's a question coming up, but I wanted to touch on that real quick because Johnson County is declared a state of disaster because of all the PFAS from the biosolids, and that's something I'm an expert in.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think we have to look at what is the key function of TRWD, and the key function of TRWD is flood control. And so the Panther City project, if we look at that as TRWD is developing a new part of the city, I think that's the wrong direction. And so we have to look at that project as what part of TRWD is really managing that project, and that is the flood control. So I think developers are waiting and wanting to make something amazing. That connection between downtown Fort Worth and the stockyards, what an amazing project that's going to be when developers are able to get in there and actually develop. But they can't. And why can they not develop right now? Because the flood control hasn't been completed. And that's really on us as TRWD, is to make sure that that flood control is completed. The channel, the canals, those are projects that we're working on, and that as a board member, I'm going to push forward to make sure that those projects are complete. So that way, as a citizen, we can enjoy a more beautiful city. We can have that development that we want. We can have that connection between the downtown and the stockyards, and I'm really excited for that project. But ultimately, TRWD has it's our primary function is to do flood control, and so we've got to focus on that.
And we're going to move to closing remarks, and we're going to start with Skylar.
Yes. Thank you again for sticking around to listen to all of us. I understand that the Tarrant Regional Water District is not necessarily a district that a lot of people spend their time thinking about throughout the year, but I think that's kind of the goal. The goal of the board is to continue to provide clean, safe water, to provide good flood control methods, and to be able to keep you safe where you don't have to think about these things. You don't have to think about what your water's going to be when you turn it on. You don't have to think about when the big rains come, how your home is going to be protected, because the TRWD and the board that supports them is doing their job. And that is one of the reasons why I've chosen to run for this, is I want to make sure that the city of Fort Worth and Tarrant County residents continue to be able to have safety as paramount. to their livelihood. And I am excited about the opportunity. Thank you for being here this evening, and I hope you have a really great night.
Thank you to the Fort Worth Report and everyone that's hosted this awesome event tonight. I'm running for the TRWD board to support the incredible work already being done by the dedicated staff that I've been working with for years. I'm not seeking to change direction. I'm stepping up to ensure the people doing the work have the resources, recognition, and support they deserve. As a biologist and longtime educator, I've partnered with TRWD scientists, conservation educators, and law enforcement through research, community outreach, and field-based learning. I've seen their commitment to clean, sustainable water firsthand, and I want to help amplify their impact. One of TRWD's most meaningful initiatives is conservation education. With 18 years teaching experience in Fort Worth ISD and a strong background in ecology, I've seen hands-on learning, especially when it comes to connecting students directly to our local waterways, builds a lifelong understanding of and respect for water. My experience leading biological surveys, conducting research at the confluence of the West Fork and Clear Fork, and bridging science and public education makes me uniquely prepared to serve. TRWD needs leaders who understand the science behind our water system and the importance of education and protecting them. I'm ready to bring that perspective to the board. Vote Brinker for Water Board because science belongs at the table. Thank you.
When we look at what TRWD does, so there's a lot of confusion. People ask me constantly, "Oh, can you get fluoride out of the water? Can you do this? Can you do that?" I'm like, hey, that's not the role of the TRWD. So we have to understand what the role of TRWD is. It is to produce raw water to the water municipalities. Then they clean it and they deliver it to our house. So we deliver that water to multiple municipalities, and like I said before, 2.5 million people currently and growing. And so that's the goal of the TRWD. We control the lakes, the rivers, and we produce that raw water. And so these are large projects, the IPL, the development of new reservoirs, the development of new water capabilities, aquifers. These are large projects that I've got extensive experience in helping come across the line. As a building official and a master code professional, I've worked with builders and developers and utility contractors to make these projects work. I've got experience in doing that, and I think I can bring that to TRWD to make sure that we ensure that the water that we need for our community continues to be there for the next 30 to 50 years. I'm excited for those projects that if we get to work on them, these are projects that I think Skylar said it really well, that no news is good news for the water department. You really won't hear about them because they're long-running projects, but we don't want you to hear from us because obviously if there's a drought, that's a problem. So we want to make sure that we're providing enough clean, renewable water for you guys. And as a board member, I promise that I will do that duty to make sure that those projects continue on and make sure that we fulfill that role to provide that clean, renewable water for us.
So first, thank you to all of you for sticking around. Thank you to the organizers of this event. Thanks to the fellow candidates for being here. This is really important, and I know that you all appreciate this. I'll steal the tagline from all the commercials that will start here soon. Water is awesome. Mm-hmm. We need it desperately. We need to prepare and plan and be thinking ahead. But we also need to be governed well. And I am incredibly proud of the work that we've been able to do over the past 4 years. We've completely, in some instances, had to create governance strategies, policies. And we took a method that was slow and methodical, that involved not only staff and board, but the public. Anytime we were proposing something new, we put it out and made it available, and we left it for 30 days for people to provide input and comment to us. And they did. And then it came to a point where there really wasn't much more to do in those ways because we went beyond what the state statutes require in some instances. New board policies, new operational policies, new governance strategies. Those are things that are critically important to maintaining exactly what you would expect your water district to do. I'm incredibly proud of the transparency stars. A 6-star created just for TRWD, delivered personally by the comptroller of the state. To think that we went from being maybe a poor performer, we'll call it, to now being recognized by the state and being the only entity in the state that has that. That's a huge accomplishment in a pretty short period of time for any governmental entity. So I'm very proud of that as well. I'm also proud that the board actually works well together. Thank you. I would ask for your vote. I'm Leah King. Thank you.
Thank you to our water district candidates, and thank you for all of our candidates who participated tonight in tonight's forums. Remember, you can watch the live stream on our YouTube channel, the Fort Worth Report's YouTube channel. And thank you again to our partners, KERA, Steer Fort Worth, Arcpoint Studios, and League of Women Voters. Be sure to stop by the League of Women Voters and Steer Fort Worth's tables right outside to learn more. Thank you.